Welcome to the Masterclass. I'm your host, and today we are stepping directly into the role of an elite curriculum architect. We are going to completely decode the Cambridge AS-level Afrikaans language exam, specifically focusing on syllabus code 8679. But listen, we aren't just looking at the foundational language basics today. No, we are targeting one of the most highly technical, notoriously complex, and high-tariff modules in the entire Cambridge curriculum: technological innovation. This massive topic area encompasses everything from the ethics of cloning and genetics to the infrastructure of global communications. It is an absolute beast of a topic. This precise intersection of advanced scientific concepts and rigorous language assessment literally trips up thousands of candidates globally every single year. To help us navigate this today, I want you to imagine two classic candidate profiles we see all the time. Let's call them Alex and Sam. Alex is highly technical, absolutely excels at memorizing formulas and facts, but completely struggles with open-ended evaluation. On the flip side, we have Sam. Sam is a highly creative thinker, incredibly strong at forming arguments, but seriously struggles with structural precision and time management. Throughout this session, we're going to look at how candidates exactly like Alex and Sam leave massive points on the table and how you can avoid their mistakes. Because by the end of the session, you are going to possess the exact, airtight analytical blueprint that Cambridge examiners are desperately looking for.
Okay, let's dive into this, because this right here is the reality check. This direct quote from the Principal Examiner reports sets the stakes perfectly for us today. It says, "Topic area. Technological innovation is one of the most misunderstood areas in the Afrikaans language syllabus." Think about that for a second. The exact people grading your papers, the ones holding your final grade in their hands, are explicitly telling us that candidates fundamentally misunderstand what is actually being asked of them when dealing with these high-level prompts. It's not just a vocabulary issue, it's an utter lack of structural precision. Before we go further, we have to talk about command word anatomy, because this is where the misunderstanding usually starts. In a high-tariff question, say worth 9 to 15 marks, you have to deeply contrast what the command words are actually demanding. For example, if the prompt says explain, it is fundamentally different from a prompt asking to what extent. Explain wants the mechanics. To what extent demands a rigorous evaluation of limits and boundaries. Or look at analyze versus evaluate. Alex, our factual scholar, usually sees analyze and just dumps every fact they know about genetic modification onto the page. But if the command word is evaluate, Alex is going to fail that question, because evaluate requires a judgment call on the value or success of those facts. This is exactly where unprepared students bleed marks, and it's exactly the trap we are going to dismantle today. To get you into that elite top-scoring bracket, we are using a strict masterclass structure today. 1. The examiner's warnings. 2. Mastering core principles. 3. The procedural framework. 4. Executing critical analysis. And 5. Securing final marks. Let's get right into it.
Section 1. The examiner's warnings.
Look, before we can even begin to build a flawless response, we need to understand exactly what goes wrong in the exam room. Here are the top 3 mistakes pulled directly from the Principal Examiner reports. First, answers are often far too vague. Cambridge examiners are totally ruthless about this. They do not want general sweeping statements about how the internet changed communications. They demand highly specific, granular details about the exact innovation in question. Second, neglecting to check formatting and presentation. This is classic Sam behavior. In the rush to get creative thoughts down, Sam abandons all professional structure, losing easy formatting marks. And third, responses are not specific to the given context. This is absolutely crucial. If the stimulus text is about the ethics of cloning livestock, your answer cannot magically transform into a memorized, pre-written essay on the history of human cloning. You must anchor your response to the exact constraints of the prompt. These 3 pitfalls are where the vast majority of marks vanish into thin air. Which brings us to the million-dollar question. Why do students find evaluating evidence and drawing conclusions so incredibly difficult in this specific topic area? Why do intelligent candidates suddenly freeze up when asked to evaluate data on satellite telecommunications or genetic engineering? Well, it comes down to failing to hit the assessment objectives, specifically AO1, AO2, and AO3. The issue is a complete lack of structural precision. When you don't have a reliable mental framework, the sheer complexity of the scientific concepts combined with the extreme pressure of an advanced language assessment completely overloads your working memory. Your brain just panics and defaults to summarizing the text instead of evaluating it. We are going to solve that cognitive overload right now.
Section 2. Mastering core principles.
Cambridge outlines a very specific, almost hidden demand for their top-performing students. They require what they call connected conceptual understanding. What does that actually mean for you? It is the ability to master fundamental principles and then seamlessly transfer that exact knowledge to completely unfamiliar contexts. See, Cambridge doesn't just want you to regurgitate a list of facts about Dolly the cloned sheep. They want to see if you can take the core ethical principles of scientific intervention and apply them to a brand new scenario you've literally never seen before in your life. Our factual student Alex struggles here, trying to match the new question to an old memorized essay. But true conceptual flexibility, that is the absolute hallmark of an elite candidate.
To achieve that elite flexibility, you have to base your entire analytical framework on two non-negotiable pillars: systematic analysis and evidence-based reasoning. It doesn't matter if the text is about cutting-edge 5G communications technology or agricultural genetic modifications, your approach remains identical every single time. You systematically break down the text, and every single point you make must be firmly tethered to hard evidence found in the source. No assumptions, no wild guessing, just rigorous, evidence-based logic.
Section 3. The procedural framework.
Okay, before we solve the hardest part of this entire syllabus, I need to pause our session for just a second. If you want to consistently unlock these top-tier marking bands and master the Cambridge curriculum, you need to subscribe to the channel Ace the Exam's IGCSE O and A levels at the handle at acetheexam_IGCSE. Hit that subscribe button right now and make sure you enable all notifications. Click that little bell icon so you literally never miss our weekly Cambridge breakthrough strategies. We are dropping elite insider tactics every single week, and you don't want to be left behind. Okay, let's get back into the framework. So what does systematic processing actually look like in practice? You should never just start writing aimlessly when the timer starts. You need to follow this 5-step standardized sequence. Step 1, identify the key elements in the question. Step 2, apply the relevant principles of the technological innovation. Step 3, execute your analysis with clear working. Step 4, verify results. And Step 5, present in the appropriate format. Now imagine our students Alex and Sam are working in a digital study suite right now, drafting a response paragraph by paragraph. They usually hit a massive roadblock at Step 3. Alex wants to just list facts, while Sam wants to write a philosophical paragraph that completely ignores the data. They get stuck trying to link their paragraphs together. So how do we step in and fix their cognitive roadblock? We enforce the rule of clear working. We force them to write down, the data shows X, which means Y, resulting in Z. By moving them from a mediocre, disjointed argument into a flawless, logically linked chain, we transition them directly into a full-mark response. Memorize this 5-step sequence. Apply it rigidly. It is your absolute lifeline in the exam room.
Let's move into an immersive workshop segment right now. I want you to actively pause and practice this mentally with me. When you're executing that 5-step sequence, especially regarding complex stimulus material like genetics, your data interpretation skills have to be razor sharp. Imagine a complex text excerpt on your screen right now discussing rural telecommunications access. First, you must ruthlessly extract the specific data accurately, not the general vibe of the text, but the exact data points. Second, you don't just list that data, you have to interpret the hidden relationships within it. For instance, how does a 20% increase in mobile access specifically correlate to local economic shifts mentioned in paragraph 3? And third, draw strictly evidence-based conclusions. If the text doesn't explicitly support your wild theory about future technologies, do not include it. Period. Section 4. Executing critical analysis.
Now, what's really interesting about this slide is that this is exactly where we separate the average candidates from the absolute top-tier scores. Let's do another quick visual workshop, spot the flaw. Look at the stark contrast between what fails and what succeeds. On the left side, we have descriptive answers. This is exactly what our student Alex tends to write. Alex just lists similarities, accepts the provided evidence at face value without questioning it, and ends up lacking a definitive, hard-hitting conclusion. It's essentially just a summary of the text. Examiners hate this. But look at the right side, evaluative thinking. This is what Sam can achieve when properly structured, and it's what Cambridge actively rewards. Elite candidates don't just list things, they identify similarities and differences, seamlessly linking them with comparative connectives in Afrikaans. They actively question the assumptions of the text, they consider alternative perspectives. Finally, they actually justify their decisions and weigh the relative importance of the evidence. They don't just tell the examiner what the text says, they evaluate how effectively and reliably it says it.
So how do you actually execute that evaluative thinking? This table right here is your ultimate elite cheat sheet for evaluating evidence quality. Whenever you are reading a complex article on communications technology or human cloning, I want you to run the text through these 4 criteria. Limitations. Ask yourself, what are the actual boundaries or glaring weaknesses of this data? What aren't they telling us? Assumptions. What unproven ideas is the author just taking as absolute fact? Alternatives. Are there entirely different, completely valid ways to interpret this exact same set of information? And finally, Effects. How do all these limitations and assumptions actually impact the final conclusion of the text? Interrogating the source material using this exact table will instantly elevate your answer out of the descriptive zone and firmly into the highest analytical marking bands.
Section 5. Securing final marks.
Okay, so you have the analytical tools, but your practical application on exam day must be highly professional. You absolutely must apply the correct formats for the specific task requested. If the command prompt asks for a formal report on technological innovation, you better give them a structured report, not a casual rambling essay. Furthermore, using appropriate, topic-specific terminology in Afrikaans is totally non-negotiable. If you're discussing genetics, you need to use precise scientific and ethical vocabulary, not everyday slang. Finally, evaluate your own performance rigorously before time runs out. Ask yourself, did I actually answer the exact specific question asked, or did I answer the question I wish they had asked?
I need you to take very careful note of this direct examiner alert. Show you're working. Even if your final answer is wrong, method marks can save you. Guys, this is the golden strategy. In these complex analytical tasks, examiners actually award points for your process. If you systematically follow the 5-step sequence, if you clearly lay out your evaluative thinking using those comparative connectives we talked about, the examiner will reward your methodology. Your logical process itself earns points, even if your final overarching conclusion slightly misses the mark. You cannot hide your analytical process in your head. You must make your invisible thought process highly visible on the actual page.
Let's synthesize everything we've learned today into 3 core, memorable pillars that our students Alex and Sam use to finally break through. First, the 3-step question scan. Always decode the exact command word first. Second, the paragraph balance formula. Every paragraph must contain evidence, analysis, and a strict evaluation of limitations. And third, the last 5 minutes review checklist. Always verify your formatting and check for method marks. So I leave you with this provocative question. Look at your past practice papers. Are you leaving critical method marks on the table by hiding your analytical process? Are you just dropping conclusions out of nowhere without showing the examiner the rigorous, step-by-step reasoning you used to get there? Crushing Cambridge exams requires consistent, relentless strategy. Starting today, I challenge you to apply this entire procedural framework to your very next past paper. Stop summarizing, start evaluating, and show every step of your brilliant work. And remember, if you want to keep gaining these elite exam hacks, hit the subscribe button for Ace the Exam's IGCSE ONA levels at the handle @AceTheExam_IGCSE right now. Turn on that notification bell and leave a comment below with your exact target grade so we know what you're aiming for. Thanks for joining me on the masterclass, and keep pushing for that top tier.